Story 1. The Ghost in the Community Theater. I think I was possessed by a ghost. I'd volunteered my time to help out with the production for Community Playhouse as the artistic director. We had to work late at night on stage set and backdrops, those sorts of things. Because the play's director insisted on using the stage during practice the next day. There were only 3 of us working on the set. My now ex-husband, the friend who got us involved in the project, and myself. They were working on construction. I took care of all of the painting. Every night we'd bring a bottle of wine. And about halfway through, we'd take a break, drink some wine, relax. The night of the incident, we were the only ones there. Since it was Sunday night, most people had other commitments. We were so far behind on production. We had to come in and get some work done. To be able to get work done, we had to turn on the stage lights. The controls for this were in the control room. There was only one problem. You had to go up the backstage stairs across a large platform that served as the workshop for the theater, through the prop room, on the other side of which were locked doors. And we did not have the keys. After locating a ladder backstage, our friend was able to get close enough to the catwalk in front of the control room. He pulled himself up, turned on the stage lights. We still could not get access to the control room via the prop room because of the locked doors. During our break that night, around 10 p.m., our friend began telling us about the ghosts that people have claimed to see in the theater. While I always felt that ghosts were a probability, I thought he was just trying to scare us. So I jokingly said, "If there's any ghost in this theater, I want to see you." My friend freaked out. Kept telling me that I shouldn't mess around with things I don't know anything about. We took longer than usual at break this night. An hour later, we were still sitting around. Our friend and my husband were really into discussing something and totally forgot I was even there. So I got up, casually walked backstage, up to the top of the stairs, and sat down at the top of the landing, expecting them to call me at any minute. I sat there for probably 10 to 15 minutes, getting very perturbed that they hadn't missed me yet. When I heard one of them say, "Hey, where did she go?" It was almost pitch black backstage, yet I got this overwhelming desire to hide. As soon as I had that thought, a man appeared before me. He had almost glowing skin and clear blue eyes, red hair, and a full beard. He told me to follow him, that he would show me where to hide so they could not find me. When asked later why I was not scared and why I went with this person to hide, I didn't know. All I can say is that it never occurred to me to be scared. I tried to stand up to follow him, but he insisted that I crawl, saying that if I stood up, they may see me and kill us both. Why this did not alarm me, I'm not sure. I began crawling after him, but at some point he disappeared. I could still hear him. I could still feel his presence, but I could not see him. Flashes of an old house with old flowered wallpaper and wood slatted walls kept coming into my head. Then it changed. I was in a field. I could hear men yelling at one another in the background. I could hear the bearded man, and he told me to stop, that we would be safe where we were for now. He repeated to me several times to be quiet and not to move or they would find us and kill us. I continued to hear the men's voices, and then I began to hear other voices in the mix with them. It was our friend and my husband calling for me. I remember telling the man that I was going to call back for them, that I knew those voices, but he insisted that I not say anything, or they would find us and kill us. He kept frantically repeating that over and over, and I kept asking who. He was hysterical by this point, and I was beginning to get scared. All I could think was, I don't know who is going to get you, but they are not going to get me. I began to scream for my husband and my friend, telling them they needed to find me and to hurry because I didn't know where I was. When I began to scream, the man disappeared. The next part had to be told to me by our friend and my husband because I didn't remember it happening at all. They followed my screams and found me in the locked prop room. The door was now wide open and unlocked. I was under a table with my legs crossed, my hands on my knees, my skin ghost white, lips blue. My eyes were rolled back in my head. My husband began to shake me, screaming at me to wake up. They said that I stood up, started saying that he's trapped. He can't get out. He's trapped. My husband grabbed me by the shoulders, spun me around, asking who I was talking about. They said that's when I came to. I remember seeing them standing there and then looking around. I asked them where we were and how we got there. Our friend was really spooked by all this. It all began coming back to me, and I told them the story of what happened. Our friend was really spooked and had us all out the door and in our cars. So fast, I barely remember leaving the building. Now, you might discredit this by saying I just had too much to drink. But I only had 2 glasses of wine over the course of an hour and a half. And how would I end up in a locked room that we didn't have a key for? It was pitch black. There was no way anyone could have navigated that space in the pitch dark unless someone was guiding them. It was filled with objects that stuck out in all directions in the path. And the path made several curves and turns before stopping at the nook where I ended up. I just have no explanation. Story 3. Haunted apartment. It's nothing big, really. Just odd occurrence. Possibly even a dream. I'm 22. I live in an apartment at Penn State when school's in session. Our apartment is rumored to be haunted. Someone died in the apartment, was pushed down the stairs. The upper level was boarded up, and we were not permitted to open it. Of course, being college students, curiosity got the best of us. There was nothing really exciting up there. But odd things started happening. Nothing major. Almost unnoticeable, really. One night I was describing one of these things, one of these stories, to a friend, and I heard my modem click off. This is not unusual, because my roommates have a habit of picking up the phone. Yes, this happened back during the old days of the internet. I kept typing because I was describing the story on the internet. When all of a sudden, the screen disappeared. It went blank. I'd never had this happen before. There's no command to get it to do that. I asked my roommate about picking up the phone, and she hadn't done it. Again, nothing that couldn't have happened somehow, some way. Later that night, around 2 or 3 in the morning, I was up studying, and I saw green smoke coming out of my closet. It sort of had a face almost. Nothing solid, just a smoky form. It hovered over me. I couldn't move or breathe. I tried to scream, but nothing came out. I felt like I was shaking violently, but I wasn't moving. It seemed to be coming into me. All of a sudden, it started leaving, and I ran out of my room, into the living room. I was terrified. I put on all the lights, turned on the television, and to this day, I try not to think about it. I don't remember falling asleep that night. I don't remember waking up. It seemed too real to be a dream. All I remember was sitting there studying, and then seeing that smoke. We've started having other things happen. Weird noises that could almost sound like someone talking. Creaks that sound like footsteps. Lights turning on and off by themselves. Doors opening and closing. But we can explain all that away, can't we? Story 3. A ghost in the house. My husband and I had just moved into our very first apartment. I was out working, and my husband noticed that there were 2 bowls placed in our cupboard, with forks resting on top. We were using that cupboard only to store food, so when I got home, he questioned whether I'd put the bowls there. Of course I hadn't. Over the next couple of days, my husband and I would wake up with a start. Literally shot up out of a dead sleep at exactly 6:30 every morning. What made this even more unusual was that neither of us needed to wake up at this time. But there we were, up from the middle of our sleep, leaving us with nothing to do but look at each other and wonder why. Several days passed, and I started to feel nervous. Started getting the idea in my head that there could be a ghost in our house, causing us to wake up at this ungodly hour, causing the weird things in our kitchen, like dishes being in cupboards they shouldn't be in. As my husband and I were about to go to sleep one night, I began to hear creaking noises coming from the kitchen. I got up and snuck into the kitchen. I found that a cabinet, a cupboard, and a utensil drawer were all open to the exact same degree. I closed them all, went back to bed. No sooner had I laid back down, I heard the same creaking noise all over again. Now a little scared, I found myself getting up every 15 minutes and shutting these same drawers. They were opened more and more each time. I finally just had to ignore it to get a good night's sleep. One morning, at promptly 6:30, we shot awake to find a man standing at the foot of our bed, sternly looking at us, dressed in overalls and a red plaid shirt. "Who are you?" he said in a stern voice. We could see him in color, the window behind him shining the morning sun rays right through him. We stared at him for a solid 15 to 20 seconds, and then he vanished. And we didn't see or hear from him again. The little old lady who lived downstairs was also our landlady. She showed us family pictures about a month after the hauntings ended. Both my husband and I agreed that the man we saw was her husband, who had built the house himself and had died about 10 years ago. We never told our landlady, but we think her husband might have been making sure we wouldn't harm his wife. Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed the stories. If you did, give me a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, and drop a comment down below. I love hearing from you. Bye.